Coach Butler for a few minutes, and then we'll grab 2 or 3 players. Questions for Coach?
Okay.
Just how do you feel the secondary played this season?
I think obviously they could have played better, especially towards the end of the year. I think obviously as the competition got a little better, and obviously I think as our film started to get out there in terms of what we were doing, how we were playing, there was an awareness of maybe how we were attacked last year relative to how we were attacked this year. But overall, I thought that some of the things we did well. Obviously, I think we took the ball away and had some significant takeaways. 3 touchdowns, I think, is a big deal. Anytime you score once on defense, let alone 3 times, I think is big. Towards the end of the year, I think maybe the last half we gave up more explosive plays than I would have liked. For the 6 years I was in Buffalo, we were in the top 3 every year and not allowing that. And I think that's a key formula for winning. And I think we ended this year giving up 30 total. We gave up 28 last year, 30 this year, which put us, I think, 27th in the country, which is, not horrible, but not in the top 25. So, there's some things we did well. I think there's some things that obviously we could have done better, but that's the case, I think, in any year.
What does it mean to you to take on this DC role and just how the relationship with Coach Rule has grown throughout the fall?
Yeah, obviously the last time I talked to you guys, I was fairly new on the job, and we kind of outlined how that happened so quickly. And here we are a couple months later, and obviously a much different role. But obviously I'm excited about the opportunity, obviously to continue my relationship working with Matt, working with these players. So I think I had developed a very good connection with. I think just working with those guys, not only just the DBs, but all the defensive guys, just working with them on a daily basis, trying to develop that relationship. And obviously just, continuing to develop and build upon the unbelievable history and tradition of the University of Nebraska and the Black Shirts, and understanding that it's a tremendous honor. I know this was a highly coveted job, and Matt went through his process, and, I'm thankful that at the end of the day, he's given me this opportunity and given me a chance to, lead these group of guys and obviously help and do anything I can to put a great product on the field on defense.
Matt said that he liked, schematically what you guys have been doing on defense the past 2 years. How do you sort of balance doing what you guys have been doing successfully and adding in your own nuances to
I think that's always the challenge, and that's really every year you coach. Like, all I can do is reference my 30 years of coaching, and you have a base fundamental system everywhere you're at, but you're always adding to it, eliminating from it, really trying to focus on the things that you do well. You're also going to make sure that what you're doing is conducive for your personnel. So, we're going to be schematically like we've been here for the last 2 years. Obviously, I loved working with Tony. Tony was great to work with, and I think we had a great working relationship where his ideas and fundamentals kind of are blended into mine, and I think that it's going to be a collaboration of everybody that we hire once we complete the staff. Obviously, adding Phil is a big deal. That's something I'm very happy about, just with his experience in this system and his experience with Matt. I think we're going to put schematically, fundamentally, and personnel a defense that is going to be one that's hard to deal with.
Do you describe yourself as aggressive? Do you think you'll be an aggressive defensive play caller?
I'm an aggressive person, so I would assume that's probably going to bleed into what we're doing schematically. I think at the end of the day, whatever you're doing on defense you've got to be able to stop the run. It's very simple. You got to be able to stop the run in today's market, in today's football. That's the run in the RPO game, and you got to be able to affect the quarterback. And that requires you to be aggressive, not only in how you're calling the game, but aggressive in how you're teaching the fundamentals to your team. I think a lot of times people get it misconstrued that, are you aggressive? Well, aggressive isn't about zero blitzing every snap. That sometimes can be stupid. But you have to be aggressive in how you get your players to play, to attack the line of scrimmage up front, to be physical at the second level, for our DBs to challenge and contest the ball. That's aggressive. And I think that everything about us is going to be, we're going to be an attack-oriented defense that's going to do our best to attack what the offense is doing and make it hard for them to move the football.
Can you size up your situation on the D-line and linebacker for the bowl game, just some of the attrition you've lost and how how it affects going into the bowl game. How
Yeah, I think it affects us. I think when you understand the market of today's college football, I think it's going to affect every single college team that's still playing, and even including some of the teams that are playing in the playoffs, because the roster management at this time of the year is a very interesting situation. Meaning you're trying to keep the players that you have, you're trying to add players for the future that are available, not only just through recruiting but also through the portal. So what I think it is for the bowl game specifically with us is there's just so many good young players, and I'm not going to name names, but we just came out the practice field, and there's some guys that didn't play last year because they were second or third, maybe third on the depth chart, that they're going to play in the bowl game. And I think if they play like they've practiced, they're going to play well. So I think there's an excitement level there that anytime you have some of the depth players in your roster that are younger with tremendous promise, just their opportunities to make plays in the game are going to be there. And that's part of what my job's going to be. When you're a coordinator, you're putting together a whole defense, but you're also like, all right, who are the dudes in my unit right now that are going to go out there and make some impact plays? And I think we have some of those guys, and it's going to be, under, I guess, my leadership, but our collective task is to make sure that those guys are impacting the game, come that matchup against BC.
One of the things that Coach Rule mentioned is wanting to get better on third down, red zone, and 2-minute pass defense.
Right.
And he cited your experience in the NFL with advanced coverages. Broadly speaking, what does he mean by it?
Well, I think at the end of the day, a lot of those situations, instead of not really the red zone, but third down and 2-minute, for the most part, guys, it's 90% pass. So when you are playing defense and you can immediately identify it's a run or a pass, then obviously your approach changes. You know what I mean? Like the best offenses that we're going to face are going to be the ones that are the least predictable in terms of run versus pass ratio, because you have run calls and you have pass calls. Well, in those situations, in third down, generally speaking, in 3rd and 4 or more, 2-minute situations, you're expecting the quarterback to throw the ball. So you're studying protections, you're understanding route concepts, you are identifying who they like to throw the football to. So I think what happens is when you can hone in on the passing game, you can take away a team's best player. You can attack the weak link in protection. You can affect the quarterback either up the middle, on the outside, whatever it happens to be, without a concern of the run. Without maybe a draw or a screen every once in a while. That's what they do to keep you off balance. So when you're doing that with multiple front looks, and you're doing it with coverage variety. And I think the biggest thing from the NFL to college is you have to really hit the target in terms of what these players at this age group can handle from a processing and from an execution standpoint versus what the pros are, just because they're 6 to 8 to 10 years older with that much more experience. So I think that's the fine line that, as I was adapting to what was going on when everything happened so fast that it did, it was just understanding that at the end of the day, it's an old cliche, but it's not about what the coach knows. It's about what the player knows and what they're able to execute. And, in those situations, you can have a little bit more variety because you're not worried about the run as much.
How'd you feel like there were a couple of games this year, I think, like Illinois and Indiana, maybe USC, maybe another game, where it felt like on third down you guys were maybe a little bit on skates. How do you feel like you handled some of those situations this year, and what might you want to tweak?
Yeah, I would take that Indiana game and just flush it down the toilet for, I think, in many, 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 many different ways, just because it was such an outlier when you look at our whole season. But there were some games where, we had an elite performance on third down. You look at the Iowa game, they were 0 for 10. And then you look at some other games where, maybe it wasn't the case. And really, at the end of the day, as a defensive coach, your job is to get stops. And you're going to get stops on third down. And I think that's where, again, we did a study just recently, kind of a recap of the season. I think we were, I can't really speak on it, but, kind of in the 30s, as far as our third down percentage and stops, which is, good enough. But I think we can improve that with just maybe how we attack the protections and just get a better understanding of what we're doing coverage-wise. And another thing I think is a huge thing about defense is the continuity. So, like, if you're changing what you're doing every year, or you're coming in, there's a process of learning exactly what we're trying to do. And I think the beauty of it is moving forward, those coverage principles aren't going to change. It's just they're going to get more reps and more exposure to them. And I think at the end of the day, that'll allow us to, execute them.
How important at this point of your career was it for, maybe it wasn't for you to lead an entire unit, to lead a defense? Was that something that was on your mind? Is it something that's important to you or not?
Yes, it was. I mean, I think it's well documented that when things ended the way they did in Buffalo, a lot of that conversation was centered on the fact that at the time, I thought I was the right man for the job there. That didn't happen, and life goes on. So, but also at the end of the day, I'm a football coach. That's what I've always done. I've done it for 30 years, and I know that I that's something that I do well. So when it came down to the opportunity to come here, the decision wasn't, well, I'm going to come here because of this opportunity down the road. I came here because I wanted to be. I had heard so many great things about working with Matt. I had had a lot of respect from afar from Tony, and obviously the University of Nebraska speaks for itself. It's a level of, it's pro football. I mean, as far as all the media that's here, the attention that it gets, and so when I came here, that was what that reason is. This is kind of a silver lining or a cherry on top that, if you believe things work out for a reason, which I do, things happen the way they happen, and it's never, your road in life and your road in your career is never going to go exactly to the script that you want it. But when opportunities come, you better be willing to either accept them or not. And that's what I talked about the last time here. So I think that at the end of the day, I'm happy that this opportunity came up. I think I'm going to embrace it and run with it and do the best I can to serve the University of Nebraska, serve Matt and these players, and whatever happens, happens. I'm at the age right now where, I'm a lot more experienced and grizzled than I was 10, 12 years ago. So it is what it is.
Coach Rule had mentioned that some of the current secondary players had advocated for you to get this job. How much does that mean to you, and how far has that relationship come after coming in a few months ago in a very unique situation?
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I was told that there was actually not just DBs, there was D linemen, there was a couple offensive guys. So, that's pretty cool to hear that, that you've at least impacted people in your experience. Because really, when you do get into coaching, you want to make sure that, at the end of the day, you've had some type of impact on them as people as much as you've had on them as developing them into players. So to hear him say that, I had kind of heard that and rumored that, and there was guys coming into the office saying, I want you to do the job, and some guys I didn't even really know that I had that good of a relationship with. But I think that that's a testament to, the things that I believe in. It's not just about the X's and O's, it's about developing a relationship and, letting these guys know that I can give them some wisdom outside of just football experience, because I've lived a long and winding road of life. So hopefully I can continue to do that and continue to impact these guys in that way.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you.